A world gone dark, imagining the unimaginable. The world shifted almost overnight. One day the rhythm of daily life, the commute, the grocery store, the evening news, hummed along. The next, silence. A silent, creeping darkness had descended not just across the city, but the entire country. The familiar glow of civilization, the comforting proof of electricity, had vanished. The cause? It didn't matter anymore. Whether a natural disaster, an economic collapse, or something more sinister, the result was the same. A world plunged into chaos. Empty grocery store shelves, deserted streets, and a chilling sense of uncertainty hung in the air. This wasn't a temporary blackout. This was the dawn of a new reality. For most, the initial reaction was disbelief, followed by a naive hope that the lights would soon flicker back on. But as days bled into weeks, the harsh truth settled in. The comfortable assumptions of the modern world, instant communication, readily available resources, and a functioning society, were gone. This, my friends, is the very real threat of long-term isolation. Not a temporary inconvenience, but a fundamental shift in the fabric of our lives. A reality where self-reliance is not a hobby, but a necessity for survival. Are you prepared? The long haul, why short-term thinking won't cut it. We've all grown accustomed to the idea of short-term emergencies. A blizzard that knocks out power for a few days, a hurricane that forces a temporary evacuation. We stock our pantries with canned goods, fill a few jugs with water, and maybe buy a weather radio. But what about when the grid goes down for good? Long-term isolation, the kind that could last months or even years, demands a whole new level of preparedness. This isn't about riding out a storm, it's about building a lifeboat for you and your loved ones in a world gone adrift. It's about understanding that the old rules no longer apply. This means shifting from a mindset of dependency to one of self-sufficiency. It means taking responsibility for your own water, food, security, and well-being. It means acquiring knowledge and skills that were once taken for granted. The time for complacency is over. The stark reality is that most people are wholly unprepared for the challenges of long-term isolation, but it's not too late to adapt, to learn, and to equip yourself with the tools and knowledge to survive. Building your lifeboat, water, food, and security. Imagine your home as a self-sufficient lifeboat, provisioned and equipped to weather a long and perilous storm. The essentials for survival remain constant: water, food, and security. But in a long-term scenario, simply stockpiling isn't enough. Water, the elixir of life, must be accessible and sustainable. Forget relying solely on bottled water. You'll need a reliable way to collect, purify, and store water for drinking, cooking, and sanitation. Think rainwater collection, well systems, and filtration methods. Food, too, requires a shift in perspective. Your pantry can only hold so much. Focus on building skills like gardening, food preservation, and even raising small livestock. Learn which edible plants thrive in your region and how to forage safely. Finally, security takes on a whole new meaning. We're not just talking about locking your doors, but about creating a defensible perimeter, developing situational awareness, and understanding basic self-defense. The mind at risk, psychological impacts, and coping strategies. The physical challenges of long-term isolation are undeniable, but the psychological toll can be even more insidious. The constant stress of uncertainty, the lack of social interaction, and the potential for danger can erode even the strongest resolve. Loneliness, fear, and boredom can morph into depression, anxiety, and even despair. It's crucial to acknowledge these risks and develop coping mechanisms. Maintain a routine, engage in meaningful activities, and cultivate a sense of purpose. Connection, even in isolation, is paramount. Nurture relationships with family and loved ones. If possible, establish a network with neighbors for support and mutual aid. Remember, the human spirit is resilient, but it thrives on connection. Don't underestimate the power of the mind. Cultivate mental toughness, practice mindfulness, and find solace in nature. Your mental and emotional well-being are just as important as your physical needs in a long-term survival situation. Fortress at home, practical security measures for isolation. In a world without the reassuring presence of law enforcement, securing your home becomes paramount. But this goes beyond simply locking your doors. It's about creating a multi-layered approach to deter, detect, and defend against potential threats. Start by fortifying your home's weak points. Reinforce doors and windows, consider installing security bars or shutters, and eliminate hiding spots around your property. A well-lit perimeter, thorny bushes near windows, and a watchful dog can all act as deterrents. Invest in a reliable alarm system or, if that's not feasible, create your own early warning system using tripwires, noisemakers, or even strategically placed mirrors. Remember, the goal is to buy yourself time and create distance between you and a potential threat. Learn basic self-defense techniques and, if legally permissible, consider owning a firearm and becoming proficient in its use. But remember, a weapon is a last resort, not a solution. The best defense is always awareness, preparedness, and a plan. Liquid gold. Securing your water supply for the long haul. Water is life, and in a long-term survival situation, access to a clean, reliable water source can mean the difference between life and death. Don't rely solely on bottled water. Those supplies will dwindle quickly. Invest in multiple water storage solutions. Consider large-capacity containers, rain barrels, or even a well if you have the resources. A family of 4 can easily go through 20 gallons of water per day for drinking, cooking, and hygiene. Equally important is knowing how to purify water from alternative sources like rivers, lakes, or even rainwater. Boiling water for at least 10 minutes kills most harmful bacteria, while water filters and purification tablets can remove sediment, viruses, and other contaminants. Practice water conservation techniques. Reuse water whenever possible, fix leaks promptly, and consider installing low-flow shower heads and toilets. In a crisis, every drop counts. Beyond the pantry, sustainable food solutions for self-reliance. While a well-stocked pantry is essential for short-term emergencies, long-term isolation requires a more sustainable approach to food. Relying solely on stored food isn't realistic. You need to become a producer, not just a consumer. Start by creating a garden, even if it's just a few pots on a balcony. Grow high-yield vegetables like tomatoes, beans, and squash. Learn about companion planting, crop rotation, and natural pest control to maximize your harvest. Explore alternative protein sources. Raising chickens for eggs and meat, or even rabbits, can provide valuable nutrition. Learn about foraging for edible plants and mushrooms in your area, but be absolutely certain of their identification before consuming anything. Don't forget about food preservation. Master the art of canning, pickling, dehydrating, and fermenting. These techniques allow you to store excess food for months, ensuring you have access to essential nutrients year-round. Off the grid and on the table. Cooking after the collapse. When the grid goes down, so does your electric stove and microwave. Cooking takes on a whole new dimension in a long-term survival scenario. Mastering off-grid cooking methods is essential for maintaining a healthy and morale-boosting diet. Invest in alternative cooking methods. A propane camping stove, a solar oven, or even a rocket stove built from readily available materials can be lifesavers. Learn how to build a simple fire pit for outdoor cooking and warmth. Familiarize yourself with different fuel sources. Propane canisters can be stored, but also consider gathering firewood, charcoal, or even dried animal dung in desperate situations. Learn how to safely store and handle flammable materials. Embrace simple, one-pot meals that require minimal cooking time and fuel. Soups, stews, and casseroles can be made with readily available ingredients and provide essential nutrients. Staying connected. Communication and situational awareness. In a world plunged into chaos, information becomes currency. Knowing what's happening around you, being able to communicate with loved ones, and staying informed of potential threats can be crucial for survival. Invest in a hand-crank weather radio to receive emergency broadcasts and weather alerts. Consider a ham radio for long-distance communication if you have the technical skills. Even a simple AM/FM radio can provide valuable information and a sense of connection to the outside world. Develop your situational awareness skills. Pay attention to your surroundings, be observant of changes in your environment, and learn how to read maps and navigate without relying on GPS. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Establish a network of trusted individuals with whom you can share information and resources. This could include neighbors, family members, or members of a like-minded community. Remember, there is strength in numbers, and shared knowledge can be a powerful tool.